I am Marcelo Fonseca, 27-year career cab driver. I support AB 24.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have the main opposition witnesses.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Wayne Teen. I'm the general manager for Uber San Francisco. In that role, I manage our operations here in Northern California, including Sacramento. I think for the members here who find AB 24 very familiar, that's because it is. I realize that the author seemed to also have confused the bill. Last year, the state legislature twice rejected nearly identical bills, AB 612, AB 2068. Because they were anti-competitive and they were backwards looking. We want to urge this committee to reject AB 24 in 2015 for the same reasons. As with previous iterations, this bill fails to recognize the fact that TNCs have not only innovated on technology and transportation, but we've also innovated on safety. Let me be very clear. Ensuring the highest safety for our riders and drivers is the most important thing we do every single day. We every day try to innovate to improve safety to ensure that people get a safe ride. But what this bill does is it relies on 1980-style requirements that actually does not improve on the public safety. Instead, it creates new rules that can easily be gamed and hurts the very riders and drivers that it hopes to protect. So let me be more specific. Regarding drug testing, we are fully aligned with the goal that every ride should be a safe one and that TNC's drivers should be held to the highest standard when it comes to safety. But what this bill gets wrong is that it uses an outdated drug test model to deter drivers when it doesn't work. Drivers who partner with Uber and other TNCs can work when they want, where they want. They are part-time. That's the best thing about the TNC model. It is fully flexible. The vast majority of our partners here in California work less than full-time. A random drug test is not effective for a part-time worker because drivers are not compelled to be on the clock. There are no set hours. They don't have to be in a set location. This means that drivers can easily get around the system by making sure they're clean when the test is done. And when bad actors know they can easily game the system, then a drug test has no deterrent effect. For the vast majority of the drivers who are always clean, this adds an additional regulatory burden they have to comply with when it adds no safety value. More importantly, the incredible thing that I think TNCs and Uber has done is that we've innovated on a more effective system for safety in the same way that we've done so for background checks. And I think we were glad to see this week that there was an amendment to take that off the bill. Specifically, the TNC business model allows riders to give real-time feedback if they suspect a driver is impaired or for any other issue. The purpose of a drug test is to serve as a deterrent. It's actually not to catch drivers in the middle of a ride. Our robust rider feedback system not only serves as a deterrent, but it also ensures sobriety while you're on the job because of that real-time feedback. Let me be very clear. On Uber, every single ride is a performance review. Every single ride is a sobriety check. In California alone, last week, we received more than 1 million rider feedback about their rides.
Thank you.
Every
Can
negative
you start
comment.
to summarize your...
Sure. The goal here is to say the bill is trying to impose an outdated regime on a system that has a better way to actually provide that drug testing and that sobriety check. And we think that it just simply doesn't work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, staff. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Timothy Burr. I'm a government relations manager with Lyft. Prior to joining Lyft in October of last year, I was an Alameda County Deputy District Attorney for 6 years, and I'm here to address you today to express Lyft's opposition to AB 24. Lyft, as you know, is a California-based TNC whose mobile-based application facilitates peer-to-peer ride sharing. We've contributed millions of rides, connected millions of rides through the app, and have pumped over $150 million into the state of California. The goal of AB 24, as we know, is to take aim at a growing industry and represents a step backwards with regards to public safety. Lyft's biggest contribution to transportation has been setting new standards for safety. Lyft and other TNCs have simply raised the bar in terms of trust and safety for passengers and drivers, and as a result, Californians, when they now request to share a ride or get a ride, they expect more. Californians expect transparency, real-time accountability, and reliability when they receive a ride. Transparency in the sense they see a photo of the car, the driver, GPS tracking of the ride if they need it, digital receipts after. Real-time accountability, every single ride, as as stated so well, does monitor the quality and safety of every single ride. Every ride, in a sense, is a test. There's a 24-hour, 7 days a week trust and safety team at Lyft, making sure that if somebody does have an experience that they need to, reach out to somebody on, they can reach somebody at Lyft 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People are held accountable for their behavior on the platform, and we've removed the anonymity of who you're riding with. In terms of reliability, the CPUC has established a zero-tolerance policy program for us. Lyft, as a company, we have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to convictions for both drugs and alcohol, meaning that within the state of California, if you have any drug or alcohol convictions going back 7 years, you will not make it on the platform as a driver. These three pillars have built a culture of trust and safety that existing industry should seek to obtain, rather than pull everyone down to old ideas of safety. Simply put, we found a better way. Now, I want to address quickly the problems with AB 24 and drug testing.
Very quickly, please.
It would impose unnecessary mandatory requirements that simply, the drug testing fails to actually screen for drugs and alcohol on a real-time basis, contributes nothing to real-time safety, and most importantly, would curb the growth of a growing industry, creating a burden for Californians who want this economic opportunity without adding any safety benefits. Drug testing can never successfully screen for drugs and alcohol on a real-time basis. As you may know, the way the platforms work, that if there is a zero-tolerance policy violation reported, the driver on a platform is automatically, at that moment, suspended at the time of this. Thank you. And just to conclude, drug testing will drastically reduce participation in ride-sharing, as we've seen in cities like Houston and San Antonio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I think there's one more.
Mr. Chairman, Alex Rosenthal. I'm General Counsel of Sidecar. I'll be brief. There are a few issues that we have with this bill, but I'll just focus on the mandatory drug testing piece. We believe that mandatory drug testing violates a driver's right to privacy, particularly given that most of our drivers are part-time. More importantly, we think that our existing safeguards are better than random drug testing at preventing drug and alcohol use among our drivers. So our technology enables real-time feedback from our riders and drivers about their experience in the car as it's happening. If there is ever a problem because the driver is driving erratically or in an unsafe fashion, we hear about it immediately from the rider. We suspend the driver from our platform and commence an investigation. So this driver won't be matched with any other rider until we figure out what happened during that ride. Sidecar has a zero-tolerance policy as well, which means that if a driver is drunk or high during a single ride, they are permanently removed from our system. This is something that random drug testing won't help do. Our instant feedback and accountability is a far better way to ensure passenger safety. So you've heard from the taxi and livery companies that we need to, quote, level the playing field with regard to passenger safety, and we couldn't agree more. Since our system of instant feedback, immediate accountability, and zero tolerance is safer for passengers, we would certainly encourage similar standards to be applied to other transportation options, including taxis. Thank you for your time. We urge you to oppose the bill.
Thank you. So we've heard from the opposition witnesses. Let's just hear from additional opposition witnesses, just your name, affiliation, and support.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Members, Ryan Sherman on behalf of the Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers Association, the Long Beach Peace Officers Association, the Santa Ana Police Officers Association, Sacramento Deputy Sheriff's Association, and the California Fraternal Order of Police. We're in opposition to this bill based on the public safety implications. Our members are very cognizant of the benefits. Thank you.
Oppose the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Robert Callahan with the Internet Association. We oppose the bill.
Thank you, sir.
John Doherty, TechNet, in opposition to the bill.
Thank you.
Commissioners, my name is Wanda Crane. I'm a part-time Lyft driver, a mom, and a City of San Francisco employee. As a driver, I want to tell you, I've had to report
You opposed to the bill, ma'am?
I am opposed to the bill.
Thank you, ma'am.
I've had to report passengers and
Thank you.
immediately been contacted by the Lyft Trust and Safety Team.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, my name is Mimi, and I oppose AB 24. I'm a Lyft driver as well, and drug
Thank
testing
you
will
very
only
much.
create additional barriers for single
Thanks very
parents
much.
like me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Erin Kennedy. I'm also a Lyft driver and a mentor and a mom and a passenger, and I'm also one of the filters for training drivers.
You opposed to the bill?
I'm opposed to the bill.
Thank you very much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Hello, my name is Hello, my name is Carlos Jimenez. I'm an Uber driver in the beautiful city of San Francisco, and I oppose this bill. I'm a single dad too, and it's beneficial.
Thank you, sir.
Dennis Bolivar. I'm a part-time Uber driver, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you, sir.
Anita Razo. I'm a state worker and a grandmother that opposes this bill because it would cut the funding that I use to spend quality time with my grandchildren.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jill Langner, and I oppose the bill. I'm an Uber driver as well.
Thank you.
Maxine Rodowitz, an independent contractor with Uber driver, oppose the bill.
Thank you.
My name is Harry Williams. I'm on the board of directors of Crime Alert in Sacramento. I vehemently oppose the bill, and I'm also a part-time Uber driver.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in opposition to the bill? Are there any tweeners on this bill? Great. Let's do questions from committee members. Mr. Quirk, then Ms. Garcia.
So there are really three parts to the bill. The first one is something that the companies are actually also in favor of, which is to participate in the Department of Motor Vehicles employer pull notice system, so that if somebody gets a DUI, et cetera, that people, that the Lyft, Uber, Sidecar, et cetera, be immediately notified. And I will note that Mr. Cooper has a bill that does just that, and I will be voting for that bill. My concern now is that we're looking at regulations that were right for taxi cabs, but I don't think they're right here. For example, on the question of a placard. I don't need a placard because when I get a ride, I have information on what the license of the car is, what the car looks, what make and model it is, as well as who the driver is and a picture of the driver. That's a lot better than just having a placard. So I think that, again, we're looking at an old-fashioned way of regulating. Further, you've heard already that Uber and Lyft and Sidecar have the ability, if a rider has a problem with the ride, he's smelling alcohol, he thinks the rider isn't doing his job properly, they can immediately request that, they can immediately send this information, the driver can be suspended. I think this is much better than drug testing. I also have just a problem with drug testing, period, and that comes from the medical marijuana community. It is not possible right now. It is possible to tell if someone has had marijuana in the last few weeks. It is not possible to tell whether or not they had their, in this case, the only thing that's legal is medicine, whether they had their medicine at a time when it would have impaired their driving. We don't have a way to do that. So it would disqualify anyone who is a medical marijuana smoker from getting into this program. Finally, it's not clear to me, since the drivers are not employees, how you actually run a random drug test program. And perhaps then the people who are the people in favor of the bill, perhaps they could answer that.
Do you want me to answer that? We have that for trucking. And there's lots of independent contractor drivers, and you're not allowed to be on duty with any detectable level of drugs or alcohol in your system. Any detectable level. That's the rule for all truck drivers, all bus drivers, everybody since 1990. What you do with an independent contractor driver is the motor carrier, the entity that hires them, requires them to enroll in a drug and alcohol testing program, which basically calls them, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then it's reported back to their motor carrier and they're taken out of service immediately. This is a very long, well-established system in transportation across all the modes of transportation. There's only one tiny little area where it doesn't apply to these, this new area. In terms of the identifying information on the vehicle, that's not for the purpose of the person calling the vehicle. That's for the police. So if they're chasing the vehicle, if they see the vehicle, if someone in the public sees the vehicle engaging in erratic behavior, they can say there's this number or identifying thing and report that to law enforcement. That's why you have a mark on the vehicle so that it's understood what sort of service it's in. This is very basic public safety regulation.
Thank you. I still have major concerns.
I think Mr. Quirk and I are sharing notes today. So I'm going to keep mine really brief. I mean, I want to thank you for taking amendments. I know this bill has been narrowed down, and I think that discussion is going to continue on all of these TNC bills about are we taking an old model and applying it to a very different business model, and how appropriate is that? I also appreciate that you have pull notices, which is something that Mr. Cooper is also trying to address. What kind of background checks? How would this work? Are these going to be random background checks?
We took the background check part out, as you recall.
I mean, sorry, not the background check, the drug testing. Sorry, is this going to be random drug testing, or how is this program going to work?
I'm happy to allow.
So the way that, which again, I'm honestly at 48 years old, sometimes I'm shocked that I'm in California, a strong public safety state, and we're talking about basically doing away with drug and alcohol testing for people that provide transportation for our traveling public, and we're going to have the passengers determine if the person's impaired. In 28 years of providing public safety, I'm not sure I could entrust that to a person to knowing that split seconds count, and reflex is a big part of that, and how a passenger is going to determine that. But maybe more is to come on that. How the program works currently for our part-time or full-time drivers that are part of our association and provide service here in California under the Public Utilities Code is they enroll in a program. They're required to. There's a list of medical testing facilities throughout the entire state of California, and those drivers, whether in trucking as independent contractors and or employee-based drivers, enroll in that program. And then that pool, they go there before they get hired as a pre-employment toxicology. They sign off on that they want to be hired and they want to go submit to that at the cost of the employer. They go and do that test. Within 24 hours, typically, a result comes back that they are clean and hireable. And then at that point, they're enrolled in a random pool. And this stuff is completely in line with what the Fed is doing as well. So this is not anything new, and all we're doing is trying to get, for a matter of public safety, which again I'm shocked, get this applied across the board for anybody that's taking passengers for hire in the state of California. I don't want to be looking over the shoulder of the pilot when I fly into LAX. I'm trusting that the FAA and the flight examiners are doing that.
So, your answer makes me want to vote no, I'll be honest. Here, let me, so I think it's unfair to say that the passenger shouldn't have any say in reporting. We could do immediate time reports through our app services, and I think while we might not capture it all, we capture a lot, and that is an effective tool that should be used. The random testing works to deter some folks, but it doesn't deter everyone from trying to beat the system. Knowing I'm going to go apply for a job and within 24 hours I'm going to get tested, well, then I'm probably going to be clean for the next 3 weeks to make sure when I go get tested I'm going to be okay. So I don't know that saying that either one is better than the other, but a hybrid of the two might be a possibility here. I don't feel it's fair to attack and say that the passengers don't have oftentimes a real say that's accurate about how their driver's doing. And so we do not want to stifle innovation. It shouldn't be that we replace something that the TNCs are doing right. It should be that we combine to make sure we have the best system here possible along the way. So I hope as this bill moves forward, we talk about combinations and not saying that one is better than the other along the way. I had spoken to the author about this, and you've taken some amendments from me already. So I am going to give you support, but the support does not extend beyond today's committee because I still have a lot of concerns about this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. I have Mr. Patterson, then Ms. Bonilla, then Ms. Burke.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I think Mr. Quirk's line of questions satisfied some of the concerns I had. I just wanted to just maybe make a comment with respect to the proposal that instead of stifling an emerging technology that is doing well, to open the kind of technology and the kind of reforms and the modernizations up to others. That seems to me to be a very rational approach to a very quick emerging technology and a very dynamic economy. We're not in the 1980s, and I think there are other ways and much better tools that have been designed in order to provide safety. And it would seem to me that the best arbiter in all of this appears to be the passengers who use it in ever-growing numbers and the drivers who safely do the ride share. So for those reasons, and for the reasons last year on the floor, I'll be a no vote on this. But I do think the suggestion to flip the standard is a very good one. I think it's a 21st century model for regulation by freeing others to engage in much better technologically developed and safer operations. So,
Mr. Patterson, I'm glad you're saying that. My next bill is going to be to alleviate all businesses and industries from all inhibitions so that they all have a fair playing level field, and we'll see how that works for the protections that we offer as a state. I wonder if I'll have your support on that bill. But let me try to address your concern as best as I can, because I do want to win your support on this. Again, as I said, this is just a simple public safety measure. There's no consumer protections in this bill. If I were to be hindering technology, I'd be crafting a bill that would specifically go to the heart of the app. I expected a little more straightforwardness from Mr. Ting, all due respect, about addressing the concerns of this bill. Again, what the app does is creates a medium of transaction, replaces a call dispatch center, and last but not least, it takes away the metering process. That's all it does. Those are the three fundamental basic components. It cannot take the place of public safety, because I can have my photo on the app, but then somebody else could go ahead and replace me. And there's nothing that's going to control that. All this bill does is codify a certain set of measures that's going to create and offer a certain level of protection to our constituents. That's all it does. And I'm actually happy to have the public, some of the folks who have much more experience in this because of the industry, respond to that as well.
Them, then they can respond. I don't believe a question has been asked of them at this point. Ms. Bonilla, then Ms. Burke, and then Mr. Hernandez.
It's been an interesting discussion. The problem is that 50% of the time there's no passenger in the car to report an inebriated driver, and that's a serious issue. And why is that an issue? Because these drivers are looking for rides, and they are in heavily congested areas, a lot of pedestrian traffic, and there's a lot of them, particularly if there's events happening. And so while it's great to have the passengers be able to respond, and I agree with Ms. Garcia that I think that's an innovation. That shouldn't be done away with. I don't think there's anything in the bill that says it needs to be done away with. It remains. But what about all the time when there is no driver and it's just a pedestrian, or it's a situation where there is no one to call attention? So, for that reason, I am going to support the bill. I think it needs to move on and move forward. It has the pull notice. I think there's nothing wrong with the placard. I think that's a really reasonable measure. I don't see any barrier to innovation in that. And with drug testing, there are so many professions and jobs that require drug testing. It's really not some kind of crazy restrictive requirement. There's so many jobs that require other kinds of testing, frankly. It's just part of a normal working standard for many different types of professions. So for that reason, I think there is some deterrent. I think there is some little check on a Sunday night if you're going to be driving people around on Monday that maybe you're going to be more careful if you're not sure if you're going to have to undergo any kind of a drug or alcohol and I think that's worth it. So I will be supporting the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla. Ms. Burke and then Mr. Hernandez.
I guess I have two concerns, speaking to Assemblywoman Bonilla's comment, is that, and I don't know exactly how it works on the driver's side. So would and I don't mean to shock you again, but would it only be when the driver is active on the app? So most drivers are part-time, and I have a lot of drivers in my district, let's be clear. So my understanding is it's part-time. So I could go 2 weeks where I work 2 weeks straight and then have final exams and take 2 weeks off. So are you suggesting that the drug tests are only when you are an active driver on the app? Or you are now saying that this part-time driver is now responsible for not ever having a drink or not ever? And that's one question. Okay. And then I'll just go ahead and ask the other one. You can answer both the other ones quick and easy. Because they're also part-time drivers, I have an issue with the decal. First of all, because if I'm calling the police, chances are I'm giving them the license plate. But my question is, what is the fee on the decal? And is it a one-time fee? Is it an annual fee? And is it a monthly fee? Those are my two questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me answer the drug testing question. I'm not sure about the fee of for the sticker, but what happens is you test somebody once for pre-employment screening, then they're tested randomly at some point with the entire driver pool when they're on duty. Duty. They're like they get to work, they're about to start, and they say, "Go take the test." That's how it works, and it may happen once a year. Then they are tested. Then they are tested with if there is probable suspicion. That is if they behave in an intoxicated way. Somebody smells alcohol on their breath at the time, or there's post-accident testing. If they are involved in an accident, they're tested, and that's how the system works. The idea is that it's very nice that the passengers who in this area are sometimes intoxicated themselves, that's why they're calling for this service. It's nice that they can report a problem, but the point is at the point they're reporting the problem, the driver's been behaving erratically. The idea is to prevent the driver from behaving erratically in the first place by ensuring that they're not intoxicated on the job. That's the theory of drug and alcohol testing.
If I may. No, you may not. The people at the table may, if asked a question, they may respond. If Ms. Burke or anyone else wants to ask a question to the people at the table, they can.
I don't think I got, and this is the part I don't understand, and you didn't answer. In a traditional system in which I work Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I understand that on the drug test, I understand you get the drug test when you're first. I don't have a problem with that. You get drug tested when you sign up for the job. I get that. My question is, in a system in which you are allowed to choose when you work and when you don't, are you saying then, and I just want to be clear because it makes a really big difference on my support or not support, are you then saying when I trigger, and I don't know exactly how driver works, but when I trigger saying I'm an available driver, that is when I would then be available for a drug test, not when I am not on the app as an available driver. Does that make sense? Either one of you,
yeah.
He may have to explain how the driver app works, but I don't know.
Just hold on. Let me just answer about how drug testing works. Whether you're part-time or full-time or however it works, that you are required to do the random drug testing when you're working. You're not required to do it when you're not working, or I guess off the app or at home or anything like that. It happens when you report for work. So
can I answer that? Hold on for a second, sir. Ms. Burke, would you like to hear from the...
So I think that even the sentence, when you show up to work, it fundamentally doesn't understand how the TNC models work. So you have an app, you can turn on, you start working when you want, where you want. The reason why I think there are so many single moms here is because it's the perfect complement to raising a kid. You can literally turn on and start working. The idea that you can be compelled when you have an app, and we can, let's say, suspend you. We say, you know what, you must show up for a drug test. But no one, you're not showing up at a place of work. There's no one around you. All you can do is shut down that app. This system fundamentally doesn't work in a TNC model because I've been through employment where there is random drug tests. And the way it works is that it's immediate. So I show up to work and they say, if you don't get a drug test today before you leave, you're fired. That works because it's immediate. But that's not how the TNC model works. I turn on the app, I turn it off. There's nothing that compels you to go and get a drug test that day. You wait 2 days, you're clean. This model just simply doesn't work in a world where the app actually is you have total control over when you work, where you work.
And
yeah, one second. My understanding is what you're saying, what the intention is, whether it's here or not, what the intention, and don't let me put words in your mouth, is that your version of showing up to work is when the app is on. Is that correct or incorrect? And that's just a correct.
Who are you asking, Ms.
That's correct,
Mr. Brown.
And I'm sorry to try to explain how transportation of people and passengers, everybody works. But I just want to say there is such a thing as actual driving time, and then there is a thing called on-duty time. So you can be on your way to and from the work between taking passengers, and if you are at that point, that may be 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That's generally considered under the way the TNC industry is regulated now. That's on-duty time. And there is also actual driving time. They're not going to test you during actual driving time because you're literally actually driving. They're going to say, go take a random drug test at some time. It may be once a year, once every 2 years. It's not very frequent. And the person will go do it. They'll just tell them where to go. The TNC will tell them where to go, and they'll go do it. When they show up to work one day, when their number comes up, that's what they'll do. And then they'll take the test, which is a 2-minute thing, and then they'll go off to work.
You're done? Okay, great, fantastic.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I also want to respond to the second question that went unanswered about the fee question. So, the intent of the fee, if there is a fee, I don't even know if there's going to be a fee because this bill asks the PUC to come up with whatever they want to come up with in order to issue decals. The intention of it is not to generate revenue. The intention of it is purely for public safety purposes. So I can't even give a response to the fee because it's not in the bill. It just allows PUC to come up with it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hernandez and then Mr. Williams.